Now, in this video, I'm going to speak and also explain and show some of the things that every developer should know as far as Git is concerned. Now, some people say JIT, it's Git, JIT, it's okay. You can pronounce any way you feel comfortable. Now, when it comes to JIT, okay, so there are a few things that you need to know about. Okay, so here there are mainly three things. Okay, so you have to worry about having not worry about, like, get it ready. So the first thing is you need to have a GitHub account. I'm going to show my own GitHub account and how we have noticed that some students find using the terminal very difficult, and that is okay. If you're finding it difficult to use JIT in the very beginning of the classes, then you can kind of learn it after a while. So that's okay. Okay, wherever possible, in addition to what I'm going to show you in the video right now, we have also provided additional links of in-depth videos available on YouTube and other places, blog articles and things like that, that you can check it out if you have. So what you see on the screen right now is in my opinion, the GitHub account is almost like your developer identity. Okay, especially when I was younger. I mean, now I'm pretty old, so I've been working for a long time. So my experience as a developer, as a coding tutor, as a technology consultant is pretty much established. So I have way too much experience to showcase my skills and stuff like that. However, when I was younger, though, one of the easiest ways to show to my employers when I apply for jobs and contracts is to simply showcase my skills through GitHub. So as far as I'm concerned, my dear students, your GitHub account is like your passport. It is your online identity, okay, about who you are and what you can do as a developer. So I would say whatever skills, like when you have skills, um, you know how people say, show, don't tell, right? I mean, that is very important, especially for you, because you're coming in very new into the world of coding. So when you apply for your first job, first developer job, how do you tell your employers that you have what is needed for the job? And that is easily done and best done through your GitHub account. Now you can see here, so you can see here, you can see my credentials, you can see my name, who I am, what I am, and stuff like that here, right? And then you can see here I have some followers. So again, that really helps. If somebody's following me, obviously they feel following me is worth their time or something. So since 2019, I've been using it extensively. You can see here all the dots and stuff like that. So whenever I do some work, it gets registered here. So this is another way you can showcase what you are doing with your developer life. I mean, just because you have dots doesn't mean you're a good developer, but at least it shows to people that, hey, you seem to be doing something. Whether it is good or bad, we can figure it out later. So that's another way you can showcase how dedicated you are to coding, because whenever you do something on Git, it gets recorded as a dot. Sometimes some of the dots are really dark, other dots are white. Sometimes there are nothing at all, but that means that day I was probably traveling or doing some non-coding related work. Okay, so there you go. And of course you can also showcase your repositories. I have some open source repositories, I have some public repositories for my students. So again, you can see some of them have been starred, so people seem to like that or something like that. So this is another way you can showcase who you are and what you are. So hopefully you're taking notes while you're watching this video. So please make sure that the very first thing you do, and that is why this is the very first video in our course. Now, please make sure you go ahead, go to github.com and then create an account on the GitHub website. Okay, and then also when you create the account, please use a proper email address. I know this sounds like a silly advice. I'll be giving out a lot of advice in these videos. Some of them might sound silly, but I've taught some, I don't know, some I don't know, 10,000 to 15,000 students in my life. I don't know if that's a very big number, but for me, it is a big number. And I've seen a lot of mistakes that people do when they start their developer journey. So make sure you use an email address, which is something which you have access to and things like that. Don't forget the password. So many times people just forget the password. Don't do that. Same thing with your GitHub account. And also make sure you add two-factor authentication. Very, very important. Turn on two-factor authentication for your GitHub account and have it ready. And also once you create your GitHub account, don't forget to update your details, like put a nice photo. Let people see who you are. It's okay. It's, I mean, of course, you can also don't put a photo, put some animated icon or avatar or something. It's up to you, but I personally prefer to put the photo, especially if I'm a new developer, because employers would be visiting my GitHub account and they want to know how you look, so that when they call you for an interview or something, they know how you look. I think it helps. At least for me, it helps as in my profession. And don't forget to update all the details like who you are, what you do, some links like external links, website links, Instagram link, whatever you have, the social media links, just put them there and then start contributing to your GitHub account and start collecting these green darts. They really, really help. Okay, so that is about the GitHub account. So moving on to the next thing, which is git bash or terminal. Okay, now setting up git bash on your computer, setting up the git command line tools on your computer is a very lengthy process. So those steps, I have included some videos in our notes. Okay, along with this LMS, we've included the necessary links. They're pretty lengthy videos, like they go just installing things. There are so many things that can go wrong, so that itself can take an hour, sometimes 2 hours. Sometimes with some students we have spent like an entire day just to get working on their machine. So I'm not going to show that here today. So I will assume that you will go ahead and watch those videos, read those linked articles, and then get git bash, that's on Windows, or terminal on the Mac, and get your git tools installed. And you also have to make sure that your computer is linked to your GitHub account. So you can see the first step why I talked about GitHub account. So you have to first step, make sure you have all the Git tools installed, and then you have to make sure that it is connected to your GitHub account. And we have provided some additional links to articles as well as YouTube videos, because those steps are very lengthy. It can go, sometimes if you're lucky, the whole thing can be done in less than 30 minutes. But if you're unlucky or because you're new, it's always things can go wrong. It can take 1 hour, 2 hour, or even an entire day by the time you get everything working. So that step you will have to do kind of on your own by watching the videos. Now, I'm going to assume that you have installed the terminal tools, the git bash tools, and then also linked your GitHub account. Now, once you've done that, there are some common things that you have to do with the Git. Now, that part. Okay, so now first thing you need to do is once you have installed everything. Now, before we do that, so how do you check if you have definitely installed all the necessary things? The easiest way to do is just go to your Mac. Windows, you have to open command line tools, git bash. Okay, so on the Mac, I would bring up the terminal. So let's go ahead and do that here. The terminal is something which is available. There are multiple ways to access your terminal. I'm going to try to do that with my VS Code. Okay, so but first, before you go to that step, first step is to create a repository. Okay, so let's say we'll go here on my computer. Okay, you'll see here on the top right corner, I have an option to create a new repository. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'll just say git demo, right? Git demo for the LMS. I'll just call it one in case I have to repeat this step. And then I'm going to put some description, just a showcase demo on how to use JIT. Okay, you can make it public or private just to have a little bit of extra complexity. I'm going to make it private. And there is something called as a readme file. A readme file is like it's part of what is called as developer documentation. Okay, so it's always a good idea to include a readme file because that will tell people who are visiting your repository what that project is all about. For example, if I go back to my GitHub account, and if I go to my account, this is a repository I have, right? And if you see here, I have a readme file, and in that readme file, I put all these details. So all these things that you see, they're all visible because of the readme file. So it's always a good idea to include a readme file in your GitHub repository, even if it is a private repository, because you still need to tell your private team members what the repository is about. So please include a readme file always, whether it is public or private. So that is like this is what I like to call a developer etiquette. There are some common good behavior things that you should do as a developer. This is part of that. So let's keep going. Git ignore, as of now, it really doesn't matter what git ignore we are using. This becomes very important when you start working with frameworks like Node.js, React.js, and things like that. As of now, in this short course, we are not really using any frameworks, so there is nothing to ignore. So I'm going to leave git ignore as none, but you will have to use it in the future, right? A license, again, I'm not doing anything, complex, or so I don't think I have to worry about that right now. So there you go. Those are all the main parts: name, description, public or private, readme file, git ignore, license, and then I'm going to create this repository. There you go. Now the repository is ready. You'll see a small lock symbol. So that means it is a private repository. The next step for me is to clone this repository. Okay, now for that, I'm going to go to this green button and I have an option to copy the clone link. Okay, I'm going to repeat that here and here. So once you have this, what I need to do is I need to go ahead and clone this on my computer. Now, a developer tip that I want to tell you is on the Mac computer, okay, what I've noticed is most of your favorite folders, like your documents, your desktop, all these things are being synced to iCloud. Okay, so that is why I tell people, like, as much as possible, don't clone to your iCloud folders. Try to clone into a folder which is nothing to do with iCloud. Same thing on Windows. Okay, if you have OneDrive or Google Drive or Dropbox or something, please don't clone your project into a cloud location because GitHub already backs up your files. So you don't need to back it up twice unless it is some priority project. So please, my advice is try to clone your project, try to do coding in a folder that is not linked to a cloud service. Okay, so what I'll do is now on the Mac, obviously the downloads folder does not sync with iCloud. And I believe on Windows also, the downloads folder is usually not synced to any cloud services. So what I'll do here is I will let me bring up my computer again. So I'm going to bring up the terminal. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my terminal. You can see here, I have my terminal open, and I also got my, downloads folder open as well, right? So let me go ahead and clone to the downloads folder. So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to try ls. It shows me all the available folders. I want to go to download. So I'm going to say cd, C as in Charlie, D as in Delta. And then I'm going to say downloads. I'm in the downloads folder. Okay. And let's go ahead and bring up the screen again. So there you go. I have my VS Code open. All right. I'll talk a little bit about VS Code in another video. So I'll quickly go here. Okay. And here what you'll see is, you'll see that I have opened the folder and I put my repository in the downloads folder. That is why I have selected the downloads folder. And in the downloads folder, my repository is called JIT demo LMS1. So try to use the same names that I am using so that when you are following along, it's easy for you. And then open. And you'll get these permission things on a Mac. You just have to get used to it. Okay. And here also there is a terminal. So now what I'll do is just to give you an idea. So the basic Git commands are like, I'm just going to make some changes, and we'll be using Git a lot in all my videos. So if you don't get how to use Git and type all these commands right away, do not panic. I'll be doing these steps and I'll be repeating these steps in almost every video when I'm coding. So just follow along for now. So just go ahead and make some changes. So I'm going to say, for the sake of the video, making some changes. I just made some changes. And then I'll go to my terminal and I'll say git status. Okay. And that's going to show me what files have been changed. And then I'm going to say git add space dot. Okay. So the status command shows the status of files. Git add dot command adds all the files that were changed to the Git system. So I'm going to say git add dot. And now I'm going to try status again. You'll see that now all the files have been added to the Git system. It was red before and now it has become green. Okay. So now I'm going to say git commit. Commit means I'm literally committing the files before pushing them online. So git commit. And when you do this, a new window kind of comes. So here, this is a tricky step. You have to press A for alpha. And then you have to type two sentences. So the first sentence, I'm going to say first commit. And then I'm going to press enter twice. And then I'm going to add, the first sentence is like a summary, whereas after that, you can write as many lines as you want. So I'm going to say, this is the video for the LMS course. I've just made some changes, showing to my students how to use JIT in the terminal. So I can add as many sentences I want. So the first line is like a summary, whereas everything else is like as many details as you want. It's really up to you. Some developers, they try to have a short commit message, whereas some developers like myself, I'm more of a talker. I mean, I'm a teacher, so I like to write lengthy sentences whenever I can, because I want my students to have that extra detail, which I think is useful because they are learning. So the more detail I can share, the better it is for them. So there you go. I've put everything. Now again, this step is important with your left hand because the escape key is on the left side. So with your left hand, go ahead and press the escape key, and then with your right hand, shift colon. Okay, some people don't know what the colon symbol is, so you just have to find it on the keyboard. Shift colon, and then with your left hand again, type W for save or write, and Q for quit, and then with your right hand press enter. There you go. Now it's giving me a message which says that I'm not able to commit. It's because I have a new Mac. You may get this message as well. Let me go ahead and take care of that quickly. So I'm going to carefully copy this. Again, this step is very important. If you mess it up, it can create some problems later. So please be patient. I am sure I have said this before. If you don't have patience, becoming a developer can be tricky. I'm not going to say impossible, but it'll get trickier. So I would recommend you be patient as much as possible. So I'm going to use my full name here. So I'm going to say my full name, or you can use a nickname. It really doesn't matter. That is the first step. Second step, I'm going to again carefully copy this. Don't make many mistakes when you're copy pasting. It can create errors, unnecessary errors. So email address, I'm going to type in my GitHub email address. Okay, so let's see if that step took care of what we are trying to do. So I'm going to say git status, I'm going to say git commit, and I'm going to say git commit. It says everything is great, nothing to commit, cool. Now I'm going to say git push. I'm going to say git push. I didn't get any errors. So there you go. It says 100%, and that means it has been committed. Now, I want to make sure that it is actually committed. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my browser and I'll refresh this. And you'll see here, it says 2 commits. And if I go here, it will show that I have just committed. See here, that's the, remember I told you the first line is a summary. That's the word there, summary. And all the extra things is here. So there you go. That is how you use Git. Okay. Now again, things may not work out the way I showed to you. I've been using Git for many years, so everything is going as planned. And even when I got some errors, like something is missing, I was able to solve it very quickly. So you may be able to solve it that quickly, or you may have to do some searching online, watching the linked videos, watching a lot of articles, and all of this can get very frustrating. But that is part of the developer journey, and I'm sure you'll get used to it. Now, the last thing before I wrap up this video, let's go back to my PowerPoint here, is GitHub Desktop. Now, as a general policy, like principle, I'm a tutor, I'm a teacher, I have some principles of my own. I really don't encourage or recommend students to use GitHub Desktop. GitHub Desktop, I think it's more of a project manager tool. It's mainly designed for people who are not coders but still have to use GitHub in their daily life, right? Like project managers, management people and stuff like that. But still, it is there, so students can use it. So I don't use it. I've never used it except to show to my students. So I don't have it on my computer. I don't think I'll install it. But if you're finding the git bash and the command line and all these things a little bit difficult, then you can go online. Okay, you can go online and try and use So you can go online and try and use GitHub Desktop. Maybe in the beginning, first week or first few days, of learning how to use Git. It does make your life a little easy. It's easier to use and so on and so forth. It looks like this. I don't use it. I don't even want to have it on my computer. But yes, so I would still recommend. Okay, and I would say it's a must that you learn how to use JIT in the command line tools. But if you are really struggling, perhaps in the beginning days, go ahead and try to use GitHub Desktop and start, take that as your first step before eventually migrating to terminal tools. Okay, so there you go, my dear students. That is what I have for you in this video. Just a little bit of basics about GitHub, how to use the terminal commands and so on. But this is a complex step. Okay, getting everything working like how I did will require a lot of additional steps, which is beyond the scope of this course. But we have included links of blog articles. Some of them are written by me, some of them written by others from the community. Some of the videos are made by me, some of the videos are made by others. We have included them in your notes section. So please do watch them and then get everything working like how I did in this video. So there you go. That's where I am going to drop off from this video. I will see you in the next video.